Hi, this is Elijah Manor, and welcome to Mannerisms. In this video, we'll look at how to refactor an existing React codebase using jscodeshift and react-codemod. In particular, we'll be using a script to automatically rename unsafe lifecycle hooks. So let's get started. Here on the left, we have an app called Old App that was bootstrapped by Create React App. We could kick off a development server by typing npm start from the terminal, and once the app has started, it'll launch a new tab with our app running. On the right, we have a simple page that uses the Unsafe Lifecycle Hooks to listen to the key down event and dynamically generate colors for the background and the text. You'll see for each key I press, it'll generate a different color. I could also click on the reset button, and that'll change the props sent to the component. So let's cancel our server and check out the code behind the app. We'll do so by launching our code editor, VS Code, from the terminal. Once we're in the editor, we'll launch the Unsafe Lifecycle Methods JavaScript file. As you may already know, when React 16.3 came out, they announced that 3 lifecycle hooks in particular tend to encourage unsafe coding practices and will soon be deprecated. Those methods are component will mount, component will update, and component will receive props. As part of the 16.3 release, unsafe underscore versions of these methods were added so that you could start using those instead of the ones that will be deprecated. So let's quickly review what our app is doing before we refactor the code. The component will mount adds an event listener to the key down event, where it'll invoke the handle key method once the event occurs. The component will update method randomly generates a new color, and then, based on its lightness, determines which text color should be shown, either white or dark gray. The component will receive props method checks to see if the key code needs to be changed based on the passed in props. And here, the component will unmount removes the key down event handler that was added previously. The handle key method is pretty straightforward. It updates the key code with whatever which property is off the event object. And lastly, we have our render method, which returns our div. You'll notice here that we're adding a ref that can be referenced inside our component will update method above. Please note that these are unsafe methods, so you should consider moving these methods to other approved hooks instead. But in this video, we're focusing on how to keep them working by automatically renaming them with a code mod. So let's shift gears to look at how to run the code mod. The tool that we're going to run is called jscodeshift, which is a project created by Facebook that will run code mods over one or more JavaScript files. A code mod is a transform that can easily refactor your code. Under the covers, jscodeshift uses Recast, which is an AST to AST transform tool. The code mod that we'll be using during this video is hosted in the react-codemod repo on React.js. The React team does a good job about adding new code mods to this repo as their API changes. These code mods help transform your code to use the newer APIs. In particular, we'll be focusing on the rename unsafe lifecycle script that'll prepend unsafe underscore to the deprecated lifecycle hooks. To get started using react-codemod, we'll need a local copy of it on our machine. So I'll click the clone or download button from GitHub and copy the clone URL to my clipboard. From there, I'll go to my terminal, change directories, and then git clone the repo I just copied. If your Git is set up correctly, that'll download a copy of the repository to your machine. In order to use these code mods, you'll need to use the jscodeshift toolkit. You could install it globally with npm install jscodeshift-g. However, these days I like to keep my global installs to a bare minimum, so I've been using npx instead. This will make sure I'm using the latest version of the tool and also keep myself from making it global. So let's ask jscodeshift to list out its options by providing it --help. The options that we'll be using are -t to indicate which transform we want to run, -d to only run in dry run mode, and -p to print out the proposed changes to the terminal. So let's go back to our code and open our integrated terminal. Before we go and refactor our code, let's try out a dry run first. We'll type npx jscodeshift, and then -d for a dry run, p for print, and t to indicate which transform, which will be at ~mannerisms/react-codemod/transforms/rename unsafe lifecycles.js. And we want to transform anything in the source folder. At this point, jscodeshift determines how many files need to be processed and will kick up multiple workers to divide up the work. JSCodeshift will provide some stats for us at the end. In this case, 7 files were unmodified, and 1 file would have been updated, but remember this was a dry run with -d. You can see the output it would have generated since we provided the -p flag. If we scroll up, we could see the 3 unsafe lifecycle hooks that would have been prepended with unsafe _. If you're satisfied with the dry run output, then you can run the command again. Typing the up arrow should bring up your last item in your history. Also, hitting Option left arrow should allow you to quickly jump your cursor from word to word. Then we'll take off the D and P flags to make the transform actually update our code. And then in the left pane, you'll see that our code indeed did update, and now is properly prefixed with unsafe _. You might be wondering how we could refactor these unsafe methods to use safe alternatives. Well, we won't be addressing that in this video, but the next video in this React 16.3 series will address that. So stay tuned. At this point, we should be able to come back to our terminal and run our app again. And after a little testing, it seems that our app works just fine as it did before. As always, thanks for watching. We looked at how to refactor an existing React codebase using jscodeshift and react-codemod. I've provided some resource links from this video in the YouTube description. If you want to know more about future videos like this, you can subscribe to the channel. In the meantime, feel free to reach out on Twitter @ElijahManor. Until then, have a blessed day.